Legally in Love, written and narrated by C. Taylor, edited to meet YouTube guidelines. To purchase the unedited book, please click the link in the description. Chapter 20b. John was surprised by how comfortable he felt with his brother and sister-in-law watching him in bed, edited, under the covers with his wife in the same situation. Hey, guys, Emma called from his side, emotion filling her voice. Andy rushed to her and they embraced. She helped Emma to a seated position. John sat forward and braced her back with his arm. John saw Emma look over Andy's shoulder at Christian. She moved her lips in a silent thank you with tears in her eyes. Christian nodded, tears forming in his. Welcome back, Emma, Andy whispered to her. Thank you both. I'm so sorry to be a bother. Don't even start, Andy interrupted. You're not the only one that would do anything for loved ones. And happy tragedy, your health issues are no longer a mystery, and we know two ways to counter it, the one we just found out and the diet you figured out. Together we'll get through the next challenge, she promised, her hand moving to Emma's belly. Emma stiffened slightly. John was pretty sure it would have been much more if she had any strength. Why do I have a feeling I'll need it? I'm not sure what I'll do yet. I need to talk to Dr. Smith, but John and I agreed to pretend this is good news. Do you think you can too? This brought all of them to tears. Through those tears, they all agreed and let out a celebratory shout. John felt her take a deep, shaky breath. Andy watched her. Do you think you can take breakfast at the pool with us, or should I have Maggie bring yours here? Emma smiled. I would love to have breakfast by the pool. Do I have any clothes here? I don't want to make the staff uncomfortable. The three others chuckled. Yes, we've moved most of your wardrobe here. We'll meet you down at the pool in a few minutes. Andy reluctantly let go of Emma. Christian took her hand, and they both left the room. Emma collapsed against John's chest, her limited strength seeming to have been completely used. He cradled her and laid her back down on the bed. She looked pale and felt cool under his hands. He took a deep breath, calming the panic he felt at her fragile condition. Are you sure you want to go to the pool? It won't be a bother for your breakfast to be brought here. She caught his hand with hers and pressed it against her face. I love you. I wasn't sure I'd get the chance to say it again. I love you so much. He took her mouth again, tears falling from his eyes onto her cheeks. I love you too, he breathed against her ear. He pulled back and looked at her. Did you mention something about pajamas? Emma nodded. Do you know if they brought them from the house? I didn't even know you had any, John said with a smile and a wink. Emma laughed. They've been completely unnecessary since being married, but I used to live in them after work. John pushed up from the bed. I'll see what I can find. He went to the closet, still ridiculously pleased that their clothes resided in the same place. He was looking for clothes for his wife. She was awake again. She was fine. She was carrying his child. The conflicting emotions were exhausting, but he wouldn't trade any of it. Can you give me an idea of what I'm looking for? He called back. I rolled the tops and the bottoms together. The ones I'm thinking of would look like a gray burrito. With that description, he found them quickly and grabbed his favorite undies. He loved how they were lacy and sexy, but comfortable at the same time, and she rarely wore bras. Her, edited. He propped her up, pulled the covers over her side of the bed, then laid her back down on top. Once she was settled, he leaned in and kissed her again. I'll be a minute, just need to get dressed, then we'll go down to breakfast. She groaned, but you're already wearing my favorite suit. She pulled him back and deepened the kiss. His body immediately responded, but he refrained from taking her again. His arm stayed rigid at her sides, no matter how much she pulled at him. He broke the kiss, brushed her nose with his, and smiled down at her. I know the feeling. You already look tired. Just rest. I'll be back as soon as I can. She weakly laid back and let out a deep fatigue breath. If I fall asleep, will you promise to still take me to the pool? Sun and fresh air always help me recover faster, and considering how much I want to go round 3 with you right now, I want to get back to full strength as soon as possible. His whole body tightened, chest included, as he realized how weak she was. He took the fastest shower of his life and dressed quickly, irrationally scared he would lose her again if he was away from her for too long. By the time he got back to the room, she was resting, her breathing steady, but her hand was flinching as it always did when she was just falling asleep. It didn't do that when she was in a coma. She was still here, a light brush on her arm, and her eyes would open for him. He debated letting her rest, but he'd promised. He went to her side and picked her up, her usual slight form even lighter than normal. She stirred in his arms and looked up at him. "Thanks, babe," she mumbled. "Anytime, baby." She purred and snuggled into his chest. "If I didn't miss Christian and Andy or need sunlight right now, I'd vote we just stay here. I promise we'll be back here tonight." His body already looking forward to that. All the more incentive to build up some stamina today. He carried her down to the pool. Christian and Andy were already eating her breakfast that smelled wonderful. One of the reclining lawn chairs was pulled close to the table for her. John laid her there. A blanket was folded over the armrest that he pulled over her lap to counter the early fall chill. John loved the breakfast, all together talking, enjoying each other's company, all celebrating Emma waking up. He never felt so a part of something, like he finally found where he truly belonged. This unimaginable fortune was actually his life. His wife was safe, awake, and they finally knew what was causing her health issues. She was sipping on a modified smoothie the nurse had brought for her. Since her stomach hadn't processed any actual food for 3 weeks, it couldn't be her regular one. About 20 minutes in, Jan, Kim, Rachel, Luke, David, Declan, Joyce, and even Charles showed up and were treated to breakfast as well. Apparently, Christian and Audie had called them to let them know Emma was awake and made arrangements. For about a minute, John worried it would be too much for Emma. One look at Christian told him he thought it would be good for her. So far, Christian had been right about her. He settled and watched Emma's face. She seemed ecstatic to see them all, the color deepened in her cheeks. Luke ran to her and Rachel helped him up into her arms since Emma was too weak to lift him. David and Declan sat on either side of her and started telling her all about their classes and how much they missed her. She kissed them both on their foreheads and made sure they knew she missed them also. Charles stayed back. He looked uncomfortable to be there, but John saw something he hadn't noticed before. There was a longing in his look he wasn't sure had ever been there before. He fidgeted and looked around like he didn't know what to do. John walked over to him, extended his hand, and was relieved his father took it instead of trying to hit him or mock him. After a short shake, Charles pulled his hand away and shoved it in his pocket. John took a calming breath before asking, "You hungry? There's a lot of food over there. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable." His admission had this strange effect of making John feel slight affection for this man. Whatever had happened to his father must have taken a heavy toll on him. John could feel him wanting to hope for a better life, but also fear that held him back. Emma had said she would need to take it slow with him. John followed her lead and just stood by him. Didn't try to get him to join, but didn't let him feel abandoned or alone either. Emma was surrounded. The younger boys were sitting on each side, and Luke was snuggled into her lap. Kim, Jan, and Joyce sat close to Andy, and all were talking together. Christian looked up at the two men standing close by, but still abandoning him to face all the women alone. Charles flinched, still nervous around Christian from their interactions about the twins before they left for the Ivy League university. John knew he needed to rejoin the group, but oddly didn't want to leave his father when he seemed so vulnerable. As if on cue, Emma looked up from the group gathered around her, caught sight of Charles, and smiled. "Charles, thank you for bringing the boys," she called loud enough for everyone to hear. "Have you had a chance to get a bite to eat? The cook is a magician. I recommend the pancakes, little clouds of heaven, I swear." She kept her eyes on him and smiled her warm and welcoming one. Charles was a much stronger man than him if he could resist that smile. The rest of the group joined in recommending their favorite dishes, and soon the man that was the source of most of his worst memories had a plate of food and was listening to the chatter around him. From Emma's perspective, Emma ignored her increasing fatigue and let herself thoroughly enjoy having so many people around her. Initially uncomfortable with all the focus being on her, she had successfully brought up enough topics that everyone was talking to each other, eating and enjoying the morning. She finally relaxed and enjoyed the comfort of having her friends and family close and content. She listened to the boys' stories who were staying by her side. She noticed Charles was eating with the others, but still very quiet and looked uncomfortable. She wished she knew more about him, or anything about him that would help the others talk with him. At least he was sitting with them and eating, not yelling or throwing things, and most likely sober. She made a mental note to work on learning more about him so she could help him feel more comfortable in social settings. She wasn't sure how long that would take. If the few words he told her were any indication, they would have to undo fundamental conditioning from his early childhood that he saw as being confirmed over his entire life. It might take a while for him to get to a point of having a normal conversation with anyone. Him sitting and eating in a group setting was an incredibly good sign, though. Emma saw a slight longing in his eyes that seemed to currently be stronger than the clear, awkward discomfort he was feeling. She needed to build on that longing and not trigger the fear that, by all indications, was at a hair setting. Slightest pressure, and boom. Emma tried to keep the conversation on topics that could include all in attendance, namely the after school classes David and Declan were taking. Apparently, Kim and Jan had started taking the self defense classes with the boys, and Rachel had signed up for them also. She hoped Charles would be curious enough to take her up on her offer to come to the twins' classes and join their pottery group. To her delight, he started to ask questions about the classes. If Emma hadn't been mostly laying down on the Chase lounge, she would have fallen over when Joyce challenged him to join a class with her. Her reclined position didn't prevent her from getting lightheaded from the shock when he accepted. John side glanced Emma and mouthed, "How the hell did you do that?" Emma shrugged back with a completely surprised look, just as shocked as he was. What was happening? Oh, Emma hoped she wasn't pushing her luck. "Would you both like to join our pottery class on Wednesday?" she asked casually, hiding the fact that she'd stopped breathing. Joyce looked at Charles, challenge and more than a little flirting in her voice. "What do you think, Mr. Mitchell?" He turned slightly red and looked back at her. "That one too, but you still want to do a class just us two, right?" Joyce giggled and nodded, seemingly unable to say anything for a moment. "We'll talk about which one when we take the boys to school." Emma turned her head so neither Charles nor Joyce could see her widening eyes and gaping mouth at John. He unfortunately didn't have an option of hiding his face from them, so he just smiled while taking his next bite. Emma covered her smile by kissing Declan's head. Oh, she started feeling so fatigued that she was having a hard time covering it when Peggy arrived with legal papers for John. That seemed to signal the workday had officially started for the whole group, and they started dispersing. Jan had work. Kim would take Rachel to the community college she was enrolled in, then take Luke for the day. Next, Andy and Christian started preparing to head for the office, but what surprised Emma was that Peggy mentioned she would follow them in. John must have read her expression as she looked at him. At Christian's invitation, I've moved our offices to their building. That sounded arranged and not entirely voluntary. But I thought part of your strategy was your office location for intimidation and all that other stuff you said that night I brought Luke back after our meeting. Her comment brought back memories of that night, their first kiss, and her body started to throb. Then he flashed his smile, and she heard her blood in her ears. Turns out having opposing counsel come to the AEF Holdings building is even more intimidating, so it turns out to be a win-win. Christian has been pretty insistent that we all stay together after you were taken. Plus, the notoriety from the Megan case, the ongoing reorganization legal work, your success from your tour and new book, it just fits our new lives. Her face fell instantly and she looked away from him. Any throbbing silence like ice was poured over her. What had she done to him? John, I'm sorry. I never wanted to pull you into this drama. He came over and sat beside her on the lounge. You've made me a part of a family I've admired for years. Christian and I have trained for years to keep Andi protected. You aren't the one that pulled me into this, but even if you had, I would thank you for it every day for the rest of my life. He didn't give her a chance to make a rebuttal. He took her lips and kissed her slow and sensual until the blood started pounding in her ears, her chest, and lower body. That didn't take long. Pretty much any time he touched her at all, she was throbbing, or looked at her, smiled at her, read something with his super sexy glasses on, walk, ate, anytime he was with her, anytime she thought of him. He started to smooth the side of her face, signaling her he was calming her down. She cooled her need to not add to his responsibilities for the moment. He eased back and looked at her. "You look tired. Would you like me to take you back to the house?" "Aren't you leaving for the office?" He shook his head. "I'm working from home this morning. At noon, Andi will stay with you, and I'll go to the office then." Emma fought her guilt. I'd say I don't need a babysitter, but since this isn't my first coma rodeo, I know better. Would you rather work at the house or out here? She asked. John smiled and shook his head. Baby, still trying to take care of everyone else. I'm happy to do either, but I would love to find out which one you want. Emma smiled. He knew her well. In that case, I would love to stay outside as much as possible. John chuckled. Granted. There, that wasn't so hard, was it? Emma winced slightly, hurt a little. Did it, baby? John held back, chuckling. Emma nodded and brought her hand up, thumb and pointer finger pulled close together. Just a little bit. Then I'm proud of you, he said before kissing her forehead. He helped her to a chair while he moved her lounge to some shade since the temperature was rising and the sun was more intense. He carried her to it and laid her down. That was the total energy she had left. She finished her smoothie and closed her eyes. Everything went dark the moment she laid back.